Syria is spiraling out of control. The situation seems to be going from bad to worse. When you think about this, how do you see the implications for Israel? How do you see this affecting Israel? How do you see solutions that Israel can affect?
I have this weakness. I've done a lot of economic reforms in Israel. I think about 50. A lot. You can ask me later about them, but I want to give you
I'm not taking this hint enough.
Well, they want to have dinner, but I want to tell you about that. So these economic reforms, the most difficult problem, contrary to what people think, is actually conceptual. It's getting the concept right, getting the idea right, especially if you can borrow it from others and see where it worked, okay? And then you just have to fit it to your own country. And then you have the battle with all the vested interests and so on, but I find that particularly boring. It's the first part, deciding what is the right thing to do, that always takes the largest effort and also the greatest intellectual investment. And it's pretty easy to do in economics, it's pretty easy to do in education, it's pretty easy to do in other things. If I see a situation where I don't have a clear concept, I don't charge in. In Syria, I do not see a simple concept, because you choose here between a horrible secular dictatorship or the two other prospects, or that would be buttressed by Iran, and you would have Iran run Syria, a horrible prospect for us, or Daesh, which is also there, touching our borders on the Golan. When two of your enemies are fighting each other, I don't say strengthen one or the other, I say weaken both, or at least don't intervene, which is what I've done. I've not intervened. I have acted several years ago, and I think I was the first country to do that, to put a military hospital 10 yards away from our border with the Golan, with Syria, and we've taken in thousands of Syrians, children, women, men, amputated, horrible conditions, given them treatment in Israeli hospitals. We never show their picture, because if their photograph is seen and they're then rehabilitated and they go back to their villages or towns, they'll be executed on the spot. But other than that, I've left the internal battle in Syria untouched, because I'm not sure what to choose, and you have to openly admit it. But here's what I do define in Syria. I don't want Syria to be used as a launching ground for attacks against us. And I have said this to Vladimir Putin when I flew to Moscow to see him. I went to see him first to make sure that our planes don't crash at each other. It's not a good idea. But I told him, here's what we do in Syria. We will not allow Iran to set up a second front in the Golan, and we will act forcefully and have acted forcefully to prevent that. We will not allow the use of Syrian territory from which we'd be attacked by the Syrian army or anyone else. And we have acted forcefully against that. And third, we will not allow the use of Syrian territory for the transfer of game-changing weapons into Lebanon, into Hezbollah's hands. And we have acted forcefully on that. I made it clear that we will continue to act that way. I explained that to Putin. I said, whatever your goals are in Syria, these are our goals, and we'll continue to act that way. And I think that message was received. Now, there is talk now of an arrangement in Syria. And I spoke about it today in a very good conversation I had with President Obama. And I said that any arrangement that is struck in Syria, if one is achievable, I'm not sure. I'm not sure Humpty Dumpty can be put back together again. I have strong doubts. I'm not sure Syria as a state can be reconstituted. But whatever arrangements are made in Syria that do not preclude Iran from continuing its aggression against us directly or by transferring weapons to Hezbollah, that doesn't oblige us. We have very clear policy demands in Syria. We keep them and will continue to keep them. The defense of Israel is what concerns me in Syria, first and foremost, and on that we'll continue to act forcefully.